So believe it or not, this is actually the best of the lighting situation that I managed to muster right now. It's going to be changing. Hi. We're going to go live. I am going to try and disconnect from the Wi-Fi, hopefully without shutting down the live. Hold on. We are. You still there, Internet? Rad. We're over cellular. We're going to be driving actually right by the site where Tyler Robinson is alleged to have, gone to a rally. As far as anybody knows, that's about it. Sorry about the lighting situation. I'm literally in the car with an expired battery on my video light, trying to make it so that when my sister gets out here to drive us down to Washington, Utah, where Tyler Robinson is supposedly from, we will have, I won't be blinding her, hopefully, with this light. She is inside assisting my children who are having a medical semi-emergency, but is being managed right now. And I was just in the way. So I decided, is this going to be too bright? No, I don't think so. Right. You let me know. Because we're live on the internet. Don't say shit that you don't want the internet to know. Everybody hear me okay? I don't know. By the way, can you hear me? Comment if you can hear. Comment if you hear. The battery on this seemed like it was not charged on my microphone, but it appears to be working. So comment if you hear me. In any event, so today is June the 26th, 2026, and the ruling has come down. Hello, how are we? Comment if you can hear me. Do you hear me? And the ruling came down today from the judge in the Tyler Robinson case, deciding that the defense is right in calling for contempt, civilian contempt against Utah County prosecutor Mr. Christopher Ballard, Sir, the Honorable Christopher Ballard, the very Utah County Christopher Ballard, the self-same, very most reverend Christopher Ballard, who went on a bit of a media tour when the defense claimed that the ballistics report could not confirm that the shall we say fragments that were pulled from the body of Charlie Kirk were expelled from the rifle that was submitted into evidence as being Tyler Robinson's rifle, which the still to this day, the prosecution claims that the DNA of Tyler Robinson is on the trigger of said 30-06 chambered Mauser K98, which we were reviewing in our last episode, the first episode of Framing Tyler Robinson, appears to still have the factory safety, three position safety that comes on the K90 on the Mauser K98, which cannot be armed with a low mounted scope on it, like the one that is alleged to have been photographed by the law enforcement, either FBI or Utah County. And so, so we reviewed that before, and how this raises huge problems in terms of actual evidence. Well, what had happened is that the Utah County prosecutor, Christopher Ballard, I still haven't been able to confirm with anybody if he's actually related to Tim Ballard or not. So we'll have to. We're still on the hunt. Anybody who's got some good research skills, I'll put Merrill on it. We'll see what we come up with. that he went on his media tour and at least told TMZ of all people that Tyler Robinson, his defense, has no business telling the world that the ballistics report doesn't match. Showed that the fragments pulled from Charlie Kirk's body don't match that rifle because he says the report actually says it can't confirm or exclude the rifle, that it was discharged, which is not entirely truthful. One, and two, what it was decided by Tony Graff, the judge in the case today, ruled was that it was crossing the line from reporting the news about what their case contained to offering his opinion as if it were fact that they have a stronger case than they actually have, and that they have already determined that Tyler Robinson is guilty. You'll remember if you've ever watched one of these cases closely before, good prosecutors make an effort to demonstrate and to carefully state that all of this is alleged and that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty, et cetera, or at least that they are bringing the evidence to trial, that they're bringing testimony to trial. So yeah, what do you think? Yeah. Do you need
that? Might be a couple there.
Oh. We got the policia?
No, we're good.
Okay. We are literally just passing. Did we pass it already?
What?
The police station.
I have no idea where that is there.
That's it, right there. Those of you who've been following the case of the Lego fiasco and the American Fork Police Department, that's it, right down that road, right there. Right, you see the gas station there. You see a dark church over there, which strangely enough is not a Mormon church, and it's right there, actually. All those guys, by the way, I've not gone on any lives yet to talk about this or many videos, but basically every officer that's involved in that scandal I have run into at some point or another, because I used to live here in American Fork, where my ex lives, with the kids, and let me tell you, the most corrupt police department, the most inept police department. The only reason they're not more corrupt is because they're too bad at what they do. They're too bad at law enforcement to even be crooked cops. But in any event, I've said it. Now I've gone out and said it. But yeah, just really horrible police here. Major reason to not move to American Fork or to Utah County is the absolute police state that people live under here in Utah, and particularly with the AFPD. Anyhow, so we're talking about Tyler Robinson. We're about to go driving actually past UVU's campus here in a minute. I mean, we're going straight to the freeway.
Yeah.
And we're on our way now to Washington, Utah. I would love to tell you how anxious I have been to get back from the East Coast so that we can go to film an episode or two from where Tyler Robinson lives. That's a lie, though. My folks live in Washington, Utah, and are going to see them. Otherwise, I would not even be here. Yeah. It just happens to be that we are driving right past UVU, and where Charlie Kirk met with an ignominious end, and on our way to Washington, Utah, and Washington County. But I do hope to actually go and film an episode in front of Washington County Sheriff's Office, because there are some things we need to cover about that. But anyway, I digress. The ruling today doesn't actually change what is admissible in court. So it by every extension here, by any consideration, the ruling that came down from Tony Graff today is just for appearances. There are some things that change procedurally, it appears, in terms of the way that jury selection will go. Because what, as I understand it, and again, armchair public defender here, which, all of Tyler Robinson's attorneys are public defenders. which actually is part of what we're about to go over here with this. So basically what has happened here, from what I understand here, this is about as easy as Tony Graff could let Christopher Ballard and Utah County's prosecution off without actually saying they did nothing wrong. He has to admit, when Christopher Ballard went on his little media tour to say, no, the ballistics report confirms that the fragments cannot be excluded. The fragments found in Charlie Kirk or pulled from Charlie Kirk in autopsy cannot be excluded from possibly being fired from the rifle. That he was misrepresenting it and presenting a case that as basically having been concluded that has not been proven in court, and he is never mind the fact that he is misrepresenting what the ATF's ballistics report says, which is effectively more towards what the defense is claiming, which is that if there were to be any tool markings on any of the rounds found with allegedly Tyler Robinson's grandpa's gift of a Mauser K98, if they had ever passed through that weapon at any point in time, they can't confirm it. Meaning that effectively at this point in time, in terms of physical evidence, they don't really have anything, because all the physical evidence is connected to that firearm. So the DNA evidence on the trigger, the DNA evidence they claim from a towel that it was wrapped up in, all of that being from Tyler Robinson, really is kind of, so what? Because at this point, they can't confirm that that was the weapon that was used to end the life of Charlie Kirk. So what's the point? I mean, and now at this point, there's no, they have not asked to have the, I believe anyways, in this recent pleading, it was not the case that they did not argue, the defense did not argue to have the rifle removed or to have the prosecutor removed from the case. Their pleading instead, rather tellingly, was that they can't press for capital punishment, and that Tony Graff has decided no, that's calling for too much. But basically, they're making the case that if they don't have a weapon, if they don't have physical evidence, and if they are out there presenting themselves to the media, trying to bias the jury pool, saying that telling basically the general public, if you get called to be on the jury in the Tyler Robinson case, just know they're going to try and pretend like this isn't that we don't have a murder weapon, and we do. Don't let them convince you otherwise. That in doing that, they have so biased the jury pool that they can't possibly give Tyler Robinson a fair trial. And Tony Graff, the judge in the case, is saying, no, has said that's disproportionate. No, that's taking it too far. He does, however, admit they should not have done that. And that now what he thinks will have to happen is that in selecting jury candidates, they are going to, potential jurors, they're going to have to add additional screening to find out whether or not those individual potential jurors were influenced in any way by something Christopher Ballard had said to the media. And so will that actually change the outcome? It doesn't seem that way to me. I'm not an actual attorney. I'm not an attorney in any sense. So, but from what I understand, having read about it today, particularly, is that it opens the door to appeals. And that's what's really going to be interesting in the case now, is basically they're going to have on record here that Christopher Ballard, the county prosecutor, one of the prosecutors in the case, has actually attempted, not deliberately, but in effect, attempted to taint the jury pool against Tyler Robinson because his case is so weak. Their case against him is so weak. And since this ATF ballistics report. So once again, this ATF ballistics report keeps coming back up to haunt them. Because at this point, oh, do you need to charge your phone?
No, but did we bring my computer charger?
I give it to you. I don't have it. Okay. Oh, that's your computer charger too?
The white one, yeah. Is it in the car seat back there?
On the car seat itself.
Yeah. On the floor.
No. And on the floor.
I'm pretty sure. I got it. If not, there's a Best Buy somewhere. Right?
But even if Tyler Robinson ends up convicted, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Frankly, at this point, I don't see a clear road to how it can happen. But even if it were to happen, they would have the ability in the future to look back and say, Tyler Robinson was convicted and, sentenced with capital punishment in Utah, but without any strong evidence to show that he was actually guilty. And so much so that the prosecution was found in civil contempt for attempting to taint the jury pool and sell them that they had evidence they don't actually have. And so at this point, the really game-changing thing to come out of this decision from Tony Graff today may be that Tyler Robinson, may not actually have a trial coming out of this, which I don't think. I think they will take it to trial. But even if he gets convicted, it's looking like they're building the case already to overturn the conviction or at least the sentence on appeal. So I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but again, it is a bigger deal than what people are making out of it today. So, but the thing that I was looking at since our last episode on framing Tyler Robinson is that I've been thinking about this really, really a lot. Tyler Robinson could have actually done it. Now I'm going to just throw this out there. This thought has been kind of percolating in my brain since we did our last episode, in which Diamond Dave came on and showed us, wanted to share with us, hey, people talk about what does the 30-06 do to a man, but you can actually see what happens. As it showed us that footage of firing from a weapon like this one that is alleged to have been used in the crime on a melon and on a watermelon, and it ripped that watermelon apart, just burst it apart. Then they showed what it looks like when it hits a pork shoulder, and again, totally ripped this piece of meat apart, absolutely destroyed it. Oh yeah, we are passing by UVU right now. Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah.
So Utah Valley University, this supposedly is where it all began. So right now, what still remains of the, I don't want to bury the lead too much here. What actually remains of the case against Tyler Robinson? So far, we have surveillance images of a young man, presumably fitting Tyler Robinson's description, wearing clothes similar to clothes that Tyler Robinson is known to wear and has been photographed wearing, which is strange in and of itself. Perhaps, maybe that's a good case, but maybe it also lends to these, shall we say, conspiracy theories, shall we say, plausible theories, who knows, suggesting that somebody could have just taken those photos from surveillance cameras, just taken some person, dressed them up in clothes that they had seen from pictures of Tyler Robinson, and faked it. Would somebody actually do that just to frame somebody in this case? The answer, I'm afraid to say, is I think it's more plausible than people give it credibility for. I mean, basically, Utah and the FBI had on their case every conservative person in America at a time when they were compiling lists of people who were, quote unquote, celebrating the end of Charlie Kirk, and getting people fired from their jobs. You know, they were desperate to, pin it on just about anyone. But I thought, in 2 days, that's a pretty big conspiracy to throw together. It's not like they don't have the resources to do it, but boy, that one does seem to be a bit of a stretch. So if it were something they had done, it would have to have been something that had been planned for a while. In other words, that before Charlie Kirk arrived that day, somebody had said, we're going to blame this kid Tyler Robinson for it. And I just don't see that yet that we have any reason to believe that that had actually happened. So if somebody did in fact frame Tyler Robinson for the ending of Charlie Kirk, we're going to need something more. Now, this is the thing that's been bugging me, is these Discord chats. So we have the footage we have some footage and some images from surveillance footage of a young man who appears to fit Tyler Robinson's description, including jumping down off of this building that I went and drove by, like, I think it was 2 or 3 days afterwards, and the place was still so swarming with people, including law enforcement, I couldn't get close enough to film over where it was. But in any event, but if you look at this building, like, I've been on UVU's campus a few times, and I can tell you, jumping off one of these buildings, that's dangerous stuff. Now, I'm an old man compared to Tyler Robinson, but for that young man to just dangle his feet over the side of that building and then jump down, I mean, unless he'd done it before, I don't know how he possibly could have pulled that off without any kind of physical training, any kind of military training, frankly. I mean, this looked like a special forces operation when you look at it. It's like that person knew exactly how to get off that roof, how to get that whatever he threw down on the ground, and take off with it. If that's Tyler Robinson, I'd have to say, man, he must have rehearsed it. He must have practiced this ahead of time. And that's not what we see in the chats with him, and the alleged chats with him and with his parents and with Twiggs, Lance Twiggs, who, by the way, still warrants mentioning, has gone missing from the St. George area. The last that I have heard is that somebody did catch up with him or them at a gas station in Austin, Texas, I believe, by the name of it, Texas, and it has disappeared. Now, that's the other interesting thing. So, besides the surveillance footage, which frankly just doesn't conclusively show that that's Tyler Robinson, is that you have this character, Lance Twiggs. Lance Twiggs is pretty much the pivotal witness that the prosecution has at this point. And they have made the case to Tony Graff that they want the footage of a confession or an interview that they did back in April with Lance Twiggs that they got with a use immunity deal. And that's been the interesting recent development in the case. Use immunity is effectively, as I understand it, not being an attorney, it's a big nothing burger. It's basically a spit shake promise saying, dude, we promise we aren't going to come after you if you admit on this recording that you helped Tyler Robinson commit this crime. And then whatever gets admitted. But if Lance Twiggs actually had legal representation, that person probably should have informed him and made sure that it was clear to them. I don't know that anybody's confirmed yet his pronouns, their pronouns. That there are would have encouraged them, hey, don't take that immunity deal. Go for a better immunity deal. Go for full immunity that says I'm not going to be tried or prosecuted for any crime connected to this, because use immunity is not that. Use immunity, as I understand it, is basically that they commit that that Twiggs cannot be prosecuted for the statements that they made in that recording. But that doesn't mean that they can't be prosecuted on any other evidence. And if there are Discord chats, that's other evidence. The other thing that I learned about today that apparently is in question, that legal experts are looking into, is how the data was taken from either Tyler Robinson's device or devices, or from Lance Twiggs' devices. Because apparently when they take this data, they don't, like, for example, text message conversations, they don't actually take just the text message conversations or like images from them. They take the whole, they use a software that takes an image of the whole device and then allows them to search for a certain kind of content, like images or or conversations, text, documents, notes, something like that. Whatever a warrant supposedly will cover, saying, "Hey, we're going to look at just this or just this or just that on the device." But the fact that they're using this software has raised some significant concerns about whether or not everything that they find on devices connected to the case is admissible in court, based upon the testimony that they have at the time. And that's where we get to the next part of what the prosecution claims to still have. And that is the testimony of two individuals that give them supposedly what do they call it? Not plausible deniability. What's the exact term? It's late. Gives them not due process. What am I thinking?
Circumstantial evidence.
No, close.
I don't know.
No, it's very close. What do they call that? Anyways,
Insufficient.
no, you're getting close though. What's it called? I was just looking at. I tried printing all this out, and then my printer wouldn't print. But in any event, sufficient cause to arrest Tyler Robinson, because they arrested Tyler Robinson supposedly on a confession, but there's no confession. That's a pretty big deal. It's being reported again and again that Tyler Robinson confessed to this crime. Tyler Robinson signed no confession. Tyler Robinson, they said, turned himself in. Even the governor of Utah, Governor Cox, had to come out and say, okay, we stated that it was that Tyler Robinson had turned himself in. The truth is his parents pulled him in, and somebody from his congregation, who I believe his name is Mitchell, pulled him, either convinced him or frankly, basically citizens arrested him and dragged his ass into the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Tyler Robinson has apparently never said that he committed this crime, and not to the police, not to anybody else. If it had been, surely that would have been part of their case. Instead, they come out with this Discord confession that was posted supposedly, but in such a gray area window of time that it is still quite apparent that this Discord chat could have been, or Discord confessional, would have been submitted while Tyler Robinson was in custody. That's my understanding still, is that they still haven't managed to prove that it wasn't submitted while Robinson was already in custody. And so, and that means he didn't have a device to post to Discord from. And from what I know, from as far as I know, there still is no indication that there was some kind of software or ability on Robinson's part to post to Discord after he was separated from his device. Now, apparently, he could send. They claim that he sent text messages to Lance Twiggs from his phone in text messaging form. But I guess the jury's still out on whether it's going to be there. I don't have any way to. I can probably throw in a link to invite people in. But no, we don't have that set up really right now because I'm only on my phone. It's easier to manage a conversation like that when I'm at my computer. Sorry, guys. But it's interesting, right? I mean, so right now the prosecution's case hinges on, number one, that Lance Twiggs' videotaped interview with police from April will be admissible, and that it is damning enough to show that it's Tyler Robinson who actually did it, and that he confessed it to Lance Twiggs. The problem, of course, being that even if Lance Twiggs even if Twiggs did say that, he can't confirm that he was there to witness the crime. He or they. I'd love it if somebody could confirm that if Lance Twiggs actually uses the pronouns other than he and him. Are they? Is it the popo? Sorry. Do you want me to turn this light on? Oh. Is he?
Would we distract them?
Would we distract them? I should hope not. Right. Yeah. Maybe he's just flashing at you because he doesn't like you. Maybe he's a misogynist. Maybe he just doesn't like women. You want me to flip him off? I have a light. We're out here. We're out here trying to cause road rage. I am. In any event, so let's just okay. So Lance Twiggs is pretty pivotal. If Twiggs, I think it's still going to be up in the air to be determined whether or not Tony Graff will allow, or if the defense will even push to say a recording of Lance Twiggs is not enough. Lance Twiggs has to show up in court and look Tyler Robinson in the eye. That's Tyler Robinson's right as a citizen to face his accusers, and they have to show up in court and let the defense cross-examine them to determine whether or not it is really plausible that Lance Twiggs knows for a fact that their former roommate and or partner actually did commit this crime. Number one. Number two is that the other two people that will have to be cross-examined and will have to be examined in court, and preferably in the presence of Tyler Robinson, preferably in the presence of the jury, are the two people from whom all of this starts, which is Tyler Robinson's parents. And that's just weird and awkward. Basically, Tyler Robinson's parents are accusing him of having committed this crime and admitting to it to them, but without anybody actually being able to say, I know because I was there and I saw Tyler Robinson do it. Here's the big question mark left on all of this so far is suppose that Tyler Robinson's defense comes up on the actual day of the trial, and says in front of a jury, Tyler Robinson is a liar. Tyler Robinson brags about doing things he doesn't actually do. Tyler Robinson likes to make jokes, which they can show in Discord chats that surrounding this. So far, the prosecution has actually included conversations where Tyler Robinson plays at and hints at that he is guilty of committing the crime or committing a similar crime. Well, committing a crime and using the recent Luigi Mangione case as a joke about it. That how will they defend? How will the prosecution defend if the defense comes up and says, why even in their very case, in the paperwork of their very case, am I causing a problem? Even in the paperwork of their case, they show that Tyler Robinson goofs around and just says things like this. He just makes wisecracks about it, and he's not serious. And if he says, look, I was just joking, how do they prove otherwise? Because the only witnesses they have to Tyler Robinson's guilt, to speak to Tyler Robinson's guilt, are his parents and his former roommate, none of whom were there to see this crime happen. And so if he comes out and says, look, even if they have proof of my having said this, my having said it and my having done it are not the same thing. And I didn't do it. And that's proven by the fact that, or as best as can be shown, they have not managed to prove otherwise, because the firearm that was found was shown to not be conclusively the firearm from which the fragments that were pulled from Charlie Kirk's body were fired. And so effectively, their case, as being argued by public defenders for Tyler Robinson, is they don't have a murder weapon. Maybe they can come up with a motive. Maybe they can come up with an opportunity. But as long as they don't have a weapon and they don't have a witness, who cares? You can't send a man to a firing squad without a weapon and without a single witness to verify I was there and saw Tyler Robinson do this, or I know for a matter of fact, for some reason, that Tyler Robinson did this. And right now, all they have is basically the word of 3 people who weren't there, who may all have an animus against Tyler Robinson. Again, suppose they get to the day of trial, to the jury, and argue in front of the jury and say, Tyler Robinson dumped Lance Twiggs. They were lovers and roommates, but Lance, wasn't paying their share of the rent. Things had gotten sticky between them in terms of lovers' quarrels or what have you. Maybe Lance wanted to be exclusive and Tyler wanted to play the field. Whatever the reason, they had some kind of lover spat, and Tyler threw them out. And so all of a sudden, things that they had only talked about doing and would never actually do, Lance has some kind of animus against Tyler, and so went along with some scheme when they couldn't find anybody else to pin what happened to him on, what happened to Charlie Kirk. He just, went in and said, I'll show you, and did this out of some kind of revenge plot. Now, suppose that he were to come out and say that. Well, would that be believable? Who's to say? But the question there is, how do you prove that it's not true? And when their prosecution's case rests on, well, we have a towel that has and a screwdriver that has Tyler Robinson's DNA. By the way, as I understand it, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken, the screwdriver now has been removed from the evidence. They couldn't pull any actual DNA from it or something like that. So it's like now the screwdriver, it's like every time they have a hearing, evidence winds up being thrown up in the air and or just removed from the case altogether. And if the Mauser that is photographed in this case gets removed, whether it's admissible or not, if they can impress upon the mind of the jury that this could not possibly be the weapon that took the life of Charlie Kirk, they just don't have a case at this one. And that's what's really interesting about the way this is going. So, and then the last thing, in terms of what the prosecution has that I was reading about today, is what still remains is circumstantial evidence from law enforcement officers, or not circumstantial, hearsay evidence, which in many jurisdictions outside of Utah would not be admissible, but in Utah, the rules allow for hearsay evidence of this kind. So basically, they're going, the police say Tyler Robinson did it. Their proof, the police say that Tyler Robinson did it. That's what it's going to come down to. If the judge determines that Lance Twiggs can actually have their testimony admitted in just the form of this questioning by Washington County, I believe by Washington County Sheriff's Office or Utah County, if their recording can be used in lieu of their actually showing up in court, and as is Tyler Robinson's right, showing their face and allowing Tyler Robinson to face his accusers, I think it raises serious concerns about whether or not they are actually looking, in this case, whether Tony Graff and the prosecution or the state of Utah or the FBI or anybody, whether they are actually looking to punish somebody for the ending of the life of Charlie Kirk, or whether they are just trying to make an excuse for Donald Trump to come out and say, we got him, just before the first person to come out and say, we got him, even before Governor Cox came out to do a little celebration tour saying, ladies and gentlemen, we got him, and then had to come out and retract and say, well, we might not actually have we maybe spoke up a little too early. We may have said that he confessed to doing the crime, and we may have been lying when we said that. We still think it's him, but we can't actually prove it with the evidence that we claimed before. And this evidence, which was already light, keeps walking back. So today may have seemed like a pretty big nothing burger, but it actually, I think, is pretty telling that there is a desperation on the side of Christopher Ballard and the rest of the prosecutors in Utah County to try and prove that Tyler Robinson actually, first of all, that Tyler Robinson bragged about ending the life of Charlie Kirk. And they did so to his parents, and that he did so, which, by the way, as I understand it, to this day, and I don't have the paperwork right in front of me, and we are on the road here, I don't think that Tyler Robinson's mother claims that he told her that he did it. His father claims that he told him that, yes, he'd done it. But, I mean, unless they can produce the actual messages, number one. Number two, they have to show that even though Tyler Robinson sometimes makes wisecracks about doing something like this, and at those times he's not necessarily serious about it. That if he comes out and says, "Yeah, this time I was just joking," or "This time I was just pissed," or "I was just angry," or "I was trying to scare my ex partner," or "I was trying to wheedle my MAGA parents," or whatever. How are they going to prove otherwise? They got to have more than this. And saying, "Well, the cops say he did it," I just don't see how they're going to make a case out of that. And maybe I don't know what I don't know, that's surely the case. But it did lead me to the question of saying, boy, Lance Twiggs, the main doubt I have on my own case to make here that Tyler Robinson didn't do it, or that they at least can't prove that he did it, is why Lance Twiggs is going along with this at all. Now, I don't know them, and I don't know enough about them to say what they would do or wouldn't do. But this use immunity deal is really suspicious, because it effectively looks like Lance Twiggs doesn't have any counsel informing them of what their options are, or they definitely wanted somebody to know that their former partner Tyler Robinson carried out this crime. And when that Mauser was photographed with the safety in the off position where it was not armed, and a scope that prevents it from opening, and supposedly a weapon that is owned by Tyler Robinson, that he has fired before, that he's gone hunting with or target shooting with before, it led me to conclude this to this wild thought experiment. I'm just going to leave it with this. Suppose Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs did actually plot to end the life of Charlie Kirk. And suppose that they did so because of Charlie Kirk's anti-trans and pro-2A sentiments and rhetoric. Suppose that they had decided, we're going to do this, we're going to carry it out, and then we're going to show how law enforcement can't make an effective case in these instances, and this is why we need special laws for protecting LGBTQI plus people, etc. Or why we need more screening, or why we need red flag laws, or whatever. And then and basically, I don't know if you've ever seen. There's a movie called. It's a Kevin Spacey movie, so maybe this is like a terrible thing to mention right now. But it's called The Life of David Gale, I think it was called. But it was basically where they had done this very thing, where they had plotted a crime and set it up so that a patsy would take the fall, and so that they could show that even with bad evidence, they can make the case. They can make the case that the person did it, and law enforcement and juries and the courts want so badly for some crimes to have somebody guilty that they can even make a bad case fly and convict somebody on bad evidence. And so basically, what if these two young people are actually some kind of criminal masterminds, and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go use two different weapons. One weapon's going to actually take the target out. The other weapon is going to be set up in an obvious place, but we're going to put it together in such a way that any person who is an expert in firearms is going to see right away that that is not the firearm that was used in the crime, in the commission of the crime. But because it's the one that the FBI is going to find, or it's the one that the police or the sheriff's office are going to find, that's the one they're going to go with, and they're going to stop looking for the actual one. Because here's the thing. I wasn't convinced that this could be the case until Diamond Dave came on the live and showed us that footage of that 30-06, what it could do. And I said, what if, of course there's the theory out there. There's all kinds of theories out there. I'm sure you've heard them about the microphone similar to this one that I'm wearing now. Like if you had an explosive in this microphone right here, would it have done what happened to Charlie Kirk? I don't know. And frankly, I just don't know. But I can tell you this, an air rifle and a pellet, if there were fragments found in a person's body, my first, and this was the case with the Charlie Kirk incident, is I looked at it and said, when I heard 30-06, I immediately said, I'm surprised it wasn't a pellet from an air rifle. Because first of all, a high-powered air rifle, people hear air rifle, your average layperson is going to think of a BB gun. It's a similar concept, but a high-power air rifle, these are actually used. They have some that are used for hunting big game. And they do fire with, they're not technically a firearm because they don't have any gunpowder in the actual rounds. The pellets are fired with air pressure, and the really high-powered ones will split apart, kind of like a hollow point round. And when they hit their target, will fragment into small pieces, and so in such a way that you can have one entry wound that does an incredible amount of damage in a limited area. At least as I understand it, not being a gun person myself, but I have looked into it before in related to other true crime cases. And so I looked at it and I said, this feels to me more like a pellet, not a round from a 30-06. I knew 30-06 because my dad had one when he was a kid. He hated it so much it turned him off firearms altogether. I actually know more than one person who firing a 30-06 have said that just about damn near turned them off of hunting and firearms altogether. I'm not driving, Tim. I'm in riding. I got Nikki here to drive. Tim and Nikki says hi. But yeah, no, that would be dangerous. I'm not driving, but I am riding. So yeah, we're actually going down to Washington, Utah right now, just because I'm going to see my folks. But we're gonna do more. We're gonna do I'm gonna try to do a little bit of true crime while I'm down there. Not committing crimes. Don't be coming after me, Christopher Ballard, or Tim Ballard. But I tell you, Tim Ballard thing's starting to heat up again. I don't know how many of you saw the Quick Media, like 3 hours that they posted that. I'm not sure what the deal is. Somebody get Greg Mattson on the line. Maybe I'll just call him. I'll see. I think I can probably get his number. Maybe I'll just email him. Somehow some arrangement was made for Tim Ballard, for 3 hours of Tim Ballard watching the Ryan Fisher interview with Greg Mattson on Quick Media to be posted on Quick Media. It almost seems like Tim Ballard actually talked to Greg Mattson and challenged him and said, hey, you are such a coward for even allowing Ryan Fisher on your show. I bet you if I filmed 3 hours of me reacting and to that interview, you wouldn't post it. And Greg Mattson said, sure, I will. Just send it to me and I'll post it. Because that's exactly how it feels. Because he just films a little piece at the front end of it saying, okay, Tim, here it is. I'm just posting it. And then he reposts the entire video. Now, I don't know that Tim Ballard posted this video anywhere else. It feels like he filmed this for Greg Mattson to post on Quick Media. And it's super weird because you actually watch it and it is Tim Ballard at his max. You know those instances where Tim Ballard defends himself, and it's almost like watching a meth head defend themselves. Frankly, I hate to say it that way, but like when somebody's high and they start to make up just every excuse under the sun. I mean, if you know, if you know an addict, they will. They're such prolific liars that they can they start lying and then they can't stop. That's what this Tim Ballard video looks like. It's 3 hours of him saying, I fired Ryan Fisher. It's not that he quit. He was stealing money from me, and he was and she starts to go off the rails, looking guiltier and guiltier with everything that he says, and you could kind of see it going on. See the wheels grinding behind his eyes, going, I sound desperate, and I look desperate, and I look like I'm angry at Ryan Fisher, and I look guilty. I mean, just now, maybe that's just my bias painting it, but it's 3 hours of that, and it's like the most disturbing thing. And I'm only talking about it now because it just barely happened recently, and we're talking about Christopher Ballard, and I haven't confirmed yet whether or not there's any relation between the two. Anyways, yeah, so that's where we are with the Tyler Robinson case. It's going to be pretty interesting, I think, to see, first of all, if they actually if the defense pushes for Lance Twiggs to testify. Because if they push for Lance Twiggs to testify so that they can cross-examine him, that, for me, it seems like it would indicate, I'm not an attorney, but seems to me like, sorry, I'm just,
You should have held it up against your chin like this.
right, to determine that they are convinced that their client is innocent. But it's interesting because, like, again, what if Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs actually plotted to end Charlie Kirk, but in such a way that they couldn't prove in court that it was actually them? And it's like, that would look pretty much like what you're looking at now. The other option is that somebody must have decided before Charlie Kirk landed in Provo that day. I think it was that day. Landed in Provo that day. Somebody said had plotted out, Tyler Robinson is our patsy. He's going to take the fall for what we're about to carry out. And that does feel like a conspiracy theory. But at this point, we don't have enough information to say that there's some other case to be made. And so it's weird, man. But if Tyler Robinson actually did this thing, I have to say this: it's perhaps the most well-executed true crime I've ever heard of. It's like, well, shame on him for doing that. But hats off to him for figuring out how to get away with it. Because that's pretty devious, man. And the delayed text messages is perhaps the most telling thing. I look at that and I'm like, somebody has to believe Tyler Robinson had the presence of mind before doing what he did to confess to his former roommate / former lover by text message without actually having to pull out his phone and location ping his phone after committing the crime. And it's like, what? That feels like the most police planted evidence case ever. It's like you invented that. That's that. There's no way that's real. Either that or Lance Twiggs had their boyfriend's phone and sent it from their boyfriend's phone, or maybe they have it set up with text messages through iMessages on laptop or something like that. And Lance Twiggs planted the evidence. And if that's the case, why? Well, I mean, if this is their partner, why would they set them up for this in this case? Unless it was part of a plan, unless they were trying to get caught. But then the other case is, or are we going to find out that none of these text messages or Discord messages are real? That instead they are, doctored photos or screenshots of these conversations or something like that. It's gonna be an interesting thing to do, to get into the details as we get closer to the trial. As it is so far, no move has been made on part of the defense to dismiss the case on the grounds of lack of evidence. So far, their only attempt that I can, as far as I know, their only attempts are to try and get capital punishment taken off the table, get that firing squad taken off the table. And the thing that's going to come out of today, this ruling from Judge Graff, appears to be that a last-ditch effort to try and get a plausible future where even if Tyler Robinson gets convicted of murder, of aggravated murder, and gets sentenced to a firing squad, he can win on appeal, saying, "Wait a minute! They didn't have any evidence. They knew they had no evidence. That's why the prosecution had to take the jury pool." And today, it looks like that is a long-term win on the part of Tyler Robinson's defense. But man, nope, not so far. No, we didn't. We've done it so far. So that's the whole thing. As far as updates, by the way, just quick updates on some stories. We did Tim Ballard. What else?
Was a word that you were looking for contempt?
No.
Oh, okay.
They were found in contempt. No. It's like when police have reason to believe.
Reasonable doubt?
No. Reason to believe that they can go into like a crime scene, what they think are this crime scene, without a witness or without a warrant. What do you call it? My brain's not sparking.
I know, fortune.
Yeah, but
like,
probable cause.
Is it probable cause?
Yeah, probable cause. Yeah, they have to prove that they had probable cause to arrest Tyler Robinson, given that there's no witness that could place him at the crime scene with a motive and with a weapon, and also that especially because the one thing that connected it all together, the weapon, is not has been basically ruled out as being exclusively the murder weapon. So it's at this point the major question that I was listening to I wish I could remember the gal's name, but an attorney. I was listening to her talk about it today and said a question came in from one of her audience that said, what about a plea deal? I mean, could this all come down to a plea deal? Frankly, at this point, even if the prosecution were interested in giving Tyler Robinson a plea deal and bringing him to the table and saying, okay, well, we obviously don't have a strong case as we thought. Look, just confess that you did it. We'll let you off easy and drop the capital punishment, whatever. Even if they could do that, I don't think they could do it right now. Again, because it's so politically charged, because the governor of the state of Utah has basically already said that Charlie Kirk's killer is Tyler Robinson. The president of the United States has said it. The head of the FBI has said it. And now the Utah County attorney or the prosecutor in the case has gone so far as to effectively have said it, and without all of it, with this big insinuation that Tyler Robinson is guilty before the trial ever gets underway, that he is determined to be guilty, and that not because they're convinced that he did it, but because they couldn't find out who did do it, and they got to paint somebody. If it's like a cop killer case, if someone kills a cop, someone has to die for it. That's like the case of the. I don't know if you ever see the documentary "The Thin Blue Line." It's a really good, actually, comparison. I think if you see it, you should see the film. The film by Errol Morris, called "The Thin Blue Line," which is a case of an adult and a teenager who in Texas, who were driving joyriding, got pulled over by a state patrolman, I believe, in Texas, and one of them shot and killed the officer. And it was so clear from the get-go that the person who actually pulled the trigger was the teenager, but the adult took the fall for it. And people's memories of the events that transpired that day conflicted with their testimonies, conflicted with each other, and yet, so they couldn't really show that this man had killed this officer, this patrolman, and yet he was found guilty for it, in spite of the fact that overwhelmingly the evidence showed that it was the teenager who did it. But a teenager, even in Texas, can't get the death penalty. And so they determined that it must, and so they had determined in their minds, the jury and the judge and the court overall, that it was this adult who had pulled it off, who had done the crime, just because when a cop dies, someone has to die in their mind. Well, similarly, in this case, they need somebody to go down. They need somebody to get the firing squad in Utah. They need to show that Utah is this tough state that lives by the Wild West rules from back in the Brigham Young days, and that they are a standard for what Red America wants conservative values to really stand for. They want to show that they're tough on crime. They want to show that they're passionate about getting justice for Charlie Kirk. But again, it can't be stated strongly enough. If you were passionate about Charlie Kirk, if you're passionate about getting justice for Charlie Kirk, why did they give up looking for his killer? So, yeah, it's a good one, Stan. Yeah, that's called Blood Atonement. Oh, are you talking about Huggy Bear? Are you talking about the documentary that I was just on? Because no, you're talking about Tim Ballard. Yeah. Oh, was it episode 4 of the Backfire series? Interesting. I guess I haven't seen that one yet. Do you know if Greg Manson actually? It's surprising that Tim Ballard didn't give him a copyright strike for it. But then again, did he release it on Instagram or did he release it on YouTube? That's interesting. I guess I'll have to watch it. But thanks for letting me know about that, Huggy. I can't stand that damn show. I mean, Tim Ballard, as much as I love to laugh at it, it also makes me incredibly frustrated because he's just such a damn rotten liar. And it's like painful to watch him just kind of implode. Like for a while it was fun, but then it was interesting, and now it's just sad. So that'll be interesting. Anyways, I guess that the Mormon God is determined that we're done live streaming for tonight. Wanted to let you guys know I appreciate your patience. I've had some family emergencies in the last couple of weeks, and also I've been working my ass off to finish the off-grid house, and I'm getting texts from my boss. So, love your faces. Definitely gonna try and get back onto doing sermons coming up here. I am going to be in Utah until probably Monday or Tuesday, looking to fly back to the East Coast. And until then, my friends, flash bright. Oh my gosh, now I got bugs. Yeah, in the car.